Okay, we're back. We're live for the 4 o'clock rock, my favorite show. The energy show, Hawaii, the state of clean energy. And we're calling this today Public Transportation, How Are We Doing? And it's going to feature in chief Mark Garrity and Roger Morton from HAR. I get the right sequence here. Mark is from, let's see, HART. You get that? No, I knew I'd get it backwards.
City and County of Honolulu.
City and County of Honolulu, and Roger is from HART.
No, I'm from OTS, Oahu Transit Services.
Okay, well, all right. We still consider it our favorite
close.
show. Thank you, gentlemen. Sorry. And of course, the handsome fellow on the left side, your audience right side, is Jim Alberts from Hawaiian Electric, a regular attendee at our programs. And before we get into the question of public transportation, let's get into Jim. Jim, you went to that Hawaii Power Conference in Maui last week.
That's right.
This is, I think, the third one now.
It is the third one.
And I wasn't able to get there. I would have liked to get there, but I'd surely like to hear from you about what happened.
Sure. I think, I'll give you my perspective, and you may get some feedback from others on their perspectives. Everybody went into this with the notion that the state is moving toward 100% renewables. That's the state law. And I think what I heard everybody saying around the table and around the room was that it's doable and achievable. And everybody's in agreement now, in alignment, that that's where we're headed. So it really came down to talking about this is a time of transition. Now it's a 30-year transition. So we really, need to focus on what are we going to do action-wise in the next 5 years and make sure the things we do are directionally correct in the remainder of those years so we don't have unintended consequences. I think the other theme I heard was that change is needed, but we need to do it prudently so that we don't affect customers negatively. And for all the people who live here in Hawaii, I think that's essential because, today customers want us to focus on affordability and stability of bills and rates. So we have to keep that out in front first and foremost. And I think overall the tone was pretty positive. And for all of those who attended, hopefully they would agree. We had a few things on some panels we didn't agree on, but I think that's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear it balanced that way. Of course, sometimes in the journalism business, you don't want to balance a ridiculous position with a good one.
Right.
You have to make a judgment call about that. So who were some of the speakers that impressed you?
Some of the early speakers really threw out the kind of the mind challenge components. The former governor of Colorado, Governor Ritter, was there and gave opening comments, and he talked a lot about morality and the reason why moving to 100% renewables is so important from a social perspective. And the former commissioner of FERC, John Wellinghoff, was there.
From Washington?
From Washington. Well, I don't know where he flew in from, but he was there in Maui. And he talked a lot about some of the changes that are needed in order to make progress. And his experience and background is in the ISO RTO framework. So he was promoting that as maybe an alternative solution to think about. Now, I think for Hawaii in particular, my view is that's probably not something that's relevant for Hawaii based on our market. If you think about ISOs and the need they were created in the mainland is to bring markets together, large markets together, so they avoid duplication and congestion in transmission systems. In Hawaii, it's 100% overlap. The market is all, in one location. So I think as long as we step back from all of those discussions and we centralize ourselves around a couple of themes, affordability, stability, resiliency, because we live on an island, we have to make sure we always have electricity available for people.
Can never forget that the lights have to be on.
They have to be. It's our way of life. And the third one is just consistently moving toward a high renewable environment to get to 100% renewables. If we stay focused on those objectives and we don't get too clouded by necessarily the approach or the models, because if you argue about the approach and the models, which one is right, I think those are good discussions, but it always has to be balanced around what's good for customers and how we bring that back to people in Hawaii.
I should mention you're the Senior Vice President for Customer Service at Hawaiian Electric.
Yes, so that's why I talk about customers a
I guess
lot,
so.
right?
Yeah. People came from far and wide, and around the state and around the country. What sense did you get of where we are on the continuum as compared to other places?
I heard some really great feedback that in Hawaii we're so far ahead of everybody that everybody's watching us, and they want to come and they want to participate too, which is great. That we get lots of input from different places. I think the thing that's exciting there, it brings in other people that might have new ideas, new technologies. So right here in our own state, we have a really productive energy accelerator program, and that was recognized that around the country our program here is very innovative, is very productive, and it brings things to market, which is critically important.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's that push for technology. I think in the end of the day, think about 30 years out from today, even 5 years out, just the differences in technology. And I've heard you use this term before, what's the black box that's going to be the technology that makes this all easy and simple for customers. I'm starting to hear more people talk about that, so you should probably copyright that as soon as you can.
Well, Think Tech, our middle name is technology, but we see energy as technology. And
Right.
I absolutely agree with you that this is the most exciting technology that we have going, and we have to be a world leader in this area. And here's the message: we can.
We can. We absolutely can. We just have to stay grounded on our values to make sure we take care of the state and the people, to make sure we provide a strong business and a strong economy that everybody can count on and depend on. And if we do that, then then the other things kind of fall into place.
Yeah, agreed. So you want to take 1 minute and tell us about things in customer service these days? Anything being rolled out that we should know about?
Sure, we're improving our payment options for customers. So we really want people to have a good online experience to make sure they can process their payments and interactions with us. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to see all of those new options and changes. And one thing we've done that's really transparent behind the scenes for our customers is to bridge our technology together between all the islands. And so I'll give you a good example. In our last hurricane, the storm that came through that hit the Big Island, we were able to send our call center people home to be safe. And as soon as the storm, we took all their calls then on Maui and Oahu. And as soon as the storm passed, then we moved calls back to Hawaii Island as the storm moved through. So
That's so cool.
yeah, so creating technology allows you to create this virtual experience, and I've seen you do it here on your show. So being able to use that technology that benefits everybody and creates a safe environment is what we're all about.
Great, Jim. Thank you so much for coming down. We want to see you all the time. I hope you have the time for us.
Well, absolutely, Jay, and I appreciate it. I mean, the last word I would leave you with is from an energy perspective, is how do we create a diverse set of resources in our state here? Because without that diversity, it's just too much risk.
Yeah. Hawaii can be a leader in so many things, and this is definitely one of the big ones.
And I can't wait to hear the rest of this show to talk about transportation.
Exactly.
Because it's such a natural tie
Exactly.
for what we're doing and how it balances the whole ecosystem. So what a great show today.
Well, we're going to take a short break. We're going to let Jim go back to work, and then I'm going to make a proper introduction, an accurate introduction of Mark and Roger. It'll be better the second time around.
Okay.
We'll take this short break.
Aloha, my name is Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I'm the host of Sustainable Hawaii at thinktechhawaii.com. We air live on the internet and also on Oceanic Channel 16. I'd invite you to come for a fresh new show every Tuesday from 12 to 1 o'clock. I try to bring on guests that give us a different viewpoint on aspects of sustainability in Hawaii, as well as trying to unpack some of the difficult concepts of measuring and achieving sustainability, particularly with regard to sustainable economic growth and prosperity in Hawaii. Please join us every Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Mahalo, aloha.
Hi, my name is Stan Osserman, and I host the show every Friday here on Think Tech Hawaii called Stan the Energy Man. We talk about everything energy, from anaerobic digesters to batteries to hydrogen fuel cell and grid power. And we do that to keep you informed on the latest technology that's out there and the things that are going on in Hawaii. We broadcast every Friday from noon until 1 o'clock, and I hope you'll tune in. So sometimes we'll be on Think Tech, and sometimes we'll be on Olelo Channel 54, and I'd like you to listen in to me and join me every Friday. We'll see you then. Aloha.
Aloha, namaskar, and hello. My name is Anu Hittel, and I host a show, Climate Change Beyond Outrage. In it, we go beyond outrage to look at solutions to climate problems facing people, nations, and the world. Join me every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Hawaii Standard Time. See you then.
Okay, we're back. And this is Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, our flagship show here on Wednesday, every Wednesday. And I would like to formally introduce our guests in chief. At the far side, Mark Garrity, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation Services in the Honolulu City and County. And then we have Roger Morton, President of TheBus. Wow, TheBus, President of TheBus. Wow. I will every time I ride a bus, I'm going to think about you, Roger.
Okay, we're glad to have the business.
So this is entitled Public Transportation, How Are We Doing? You know what? And our fearless leader, Sharon Moriwaki, which is somewhere in Thailand, who's somewhere in Thailand right now and can't join us, but she's here in spirit. You know, the whole thing is transportation. She cares so deeply, we all do, about transportation. You know, it's like, you know, cars and, for that matter, public transportation. Sort of, we haven't talked about it enough. You know, we haven't really got it on the road, you know, the path so much, and now we need to do that. But you guys are actually doing it, so that's really something. So I guess let's see. Why don't we start with you, Roger, and talk about what the bus is doing?
Well, I'll talk about what we're doing right now. We got some exciting irons in the fire for the future, but we were actually one of the first bus that was electric bus. Was prototyped here, probably 1980. And since then, we have committed to buying about 20% of our fleet right now is a hybrid electric bus.
Right now, today.
Right now, today. And that's, you know, with our latest version of that, which is a new version that we just put in service this year. We run it in Waikiki right now, and that's our toughest environment because we have the highest loads, we have frequent stops, and we're getting more miles per gallon now on our newest hybrid in that environment than we do in all the other routes that we have that aren't as challenging. So
when you talk about hybrid, you mean like a Prius, that kind of hybrid?
It's like a Prius. Now, the first generation of hybrid that we had, which is now 10 years old, was a mechanical sharing where it was both like a mechanical transmission and also electrical assist when it got to a certain speed. Now, the newest version, we have decoupled the engine from the wheels, and that means that our newest versions are purely electric, although they have a diesel engine to generate power. And that's a great system. That's the one we're using right now. But now that we've gone there, we've electrified everything on the bus. The air conditioning systems are electric. The doors are electric. The air compressors are all electric. All of these used to be driven by an engine. So what that means now is our next step, we can go anywhere. We could put fuel cells on the bus. We could generate power that way.
Right.
We can put batteries on the bus because now we've decoupled our vehicles from the drivetrain.
And this means that you can idle the bus without making any noise at all.
Well, idle actually, we do more than that now. In our newest version of buses, when the bus gets to a stoplight or a stop sign or a bus stop, it actually shuts the engine off. It's called start-stop technology, and it's rather disconcerting for the passengers because it sounds like the bus stalled.
I think the ride ended.
And then when the driver puts his foot back on the accelerator, what happens is the electric system takes over, so it's an instantaneous start, and then the engine starts again.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at now, and that's about we're a heavy-duty energy user. We have 700 vehicles. We use 6 million gallons of fuel every year. So it's one of our largest cost items is energy. With our hybrid systems now, we're saving about 30% of what a conventional diesel engine or gasoline engine would have. So I'm gonna,
That's pretty good. So just looking forward for a moment before we go to Mark, what's the plan? To go to 100% hybrid or 100% electric?
Certainly we will probably end up at 100% electric. And there's a lot of issues involved on how we get there. One of the things is as we, we're going to start buying some battery buses. And these
Straight
are
electric.
straight electric.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But, this technology of battery technology is also improving in a very fast rate. I mean, costs per unit of energy are coming down, weight is coming down, range is going up. So these things are happening, and so now it is possible to actually power a transit bus with batteries. And there's lots of people that are trying it. Washington State has an order out for potentially 800 battery buses. There are other orders around the country here and there. And we're convinced that ultimately electrification of this part of our transportation system, and probably most of the automobile fleet too, or at least a good portion of it, will probably happen over the next 20 years.
Yeah, well, I get a scene of the bus barn, right, overnight, where you plug them in, and there's really no problem at all.
Well, it goes beyond that because here's the issue for Hawaiian Electric and for the island in general. I'm told that we generate more electricity now with solar than we use. So we're looking at both, when our peak periods occur, that's the afternoon period between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and the morning period. And we put all of our buses on the road at that time. But that's also the time when Hawaiian Electric has their peak demand. So if we can figure out a way that we can schedule our buses, and that's what we're going to try to do, both using overnight recharging, but also using that time in the middle of the day when we don't have all of our buses on the road. We're trying to figure out a schedule where we can take advantage of all of that solar energy right now that's being generated right now and more in the future.
Let the record reflect that Roger looked up as he said the word solar. and my reaction is, well, buses have flat tops, don't they?
Yeah.
Do anything with that?
Well, some people could, but I think it's easier to make use of the resource that we're generating now that we're not using, and that's what our objective is that we don't want to add peak demand to our local utility, to our grid. We want to use the power that's available when it's available, when there's surplus power available. That'll drive down rates for everybody. We want to get a good rate from Hawaiian Electric if we buy power from them. So we want to set up our profile on how we use power to make it economically efficient for both us and for our local utility.
We should have let Jim Alberts stay around, then you could negotiate with him right here on ThinkTech. It's always a good opportunity.
It's an exciting future, though, for public transportation.
You're not only dedicated, you're passionate. I'll say that, just as an observer. So, Mark, what's going on the larger level? What do you got going?
Well, I think, as Roger mentioned, we want to move towards powering our fleet of buses with electric more and more in the future. And I think Roger's right. Ultimately, all of our vehicles, and the city owns the vehicles that Roger's company drives, all of the city-owned vehicles should be powered by 100% electric or 100% renewable fuels in the future. How we get there, we'll figure that out. I think ultimately, as Jim mentioned, it'd be wonderful to have 100% renewable energy for all of our transportation needs on the island, including private transportation.
One side effect of that is that it's a demonstration to the public in general.
Absolutely.
That renewables work for transportation.
Right. And the area that we want to start with, the neighborhood that we want to start with is Waikiki, and connecting Ala Moana with Waikiki. I'm sure you've had people from HART and from the rail project here, But you must be familiar that right now the rail system will start in East Kapolei and end up in Ala Moana Station, Ala Moana Shopping
Right
Center.
at Kamoku there.
Exactly. And so people are going to be getting on the train at the airport or other places, getting off at Ala Moana, and a lot of them are going to want to continue their trip into Waikiki. So we know in the future that's going to be a big connection, and we're already thinking about how to serve that and how to serve it in a way that is energy efficient and clean, pollution-free, quiet as possible. And as Roger mentioned, we think that electric buses are the way to go.
Yeah.
In fact, the trains are being designed. Of course, the trains are running on electricity too. So that's one step in the future. But people are going to be taking their bags. For example, tourists will come in, take their suitcases onto the train, get off at Ala Moana. They're going to want to get on a bus that also accommodates luggage and takes them to their hotel
Yes.
in Waikiki, as one example. So we're looking at buying specially designed buses that, as Roger mentioned, 100% battery operated, but they're also designed in a way that allows people to roll luggage on, to roll strollers on, all door boarding, meaning the people who don't have to all crowd around the front door could actually board on any of the doors. We're working on a new fare system. We call it electronic fare card or smart card. A lot of other cities have already gone in this direction. We're following in good footsteps. We've just announced an award with a company that's going to come and bring this smart card technology to Hawaii. And what that's going to allow is a lot of people in the future to use a card or use their phone or use another device to access their account, which will be online, where they'll have money stored and they won't have to worry about paying cash to ride the bus.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot easier, a lot more convenient. That will allow us to speed boarding, to be more efficient in terms of how we provide operations, provide better service to customers.
Yeah.
We're very excited about public transportation.
You are. You're just as passionate
more so
as Roger here.
Yes. No, we think there's a great future for public transit. It's a very important part of the overall transportation mix on Oahu. You know, there's a lot more options out there for people with Uber and Lyft and other things coming on board. But bike share coming. All of these things are going to enable residents, workers, visitors to get around without necessarily having to rely on a car. Makes overall more efficient use of our streets and highways, overall reducing congestion, reducing pollution, and public transit plays a big role in that.
Here's another element of it. You know, I've always said that a city, a state with ample and reasonable priced electricity has got a better economy. It just it facilitates a better economy. But you know what else? Transportation facilitates a better economy. And so, yes, it's
good, efficient
convenient, it's
transportation.
noble and ideal and all that, but if this works right, it'll facilitate the economy.
Yeah, and I think one of the exciting things that's coming up in our, is just the extent to which the city and the state are both committed to transit-oriented development. That's another pillar in the stool is to have our communities, Kaka'ako and other communities that are truly designed to be oriented toward a transit environment. And even our project on electric buses, although we are concentrating Ala Moana, we're also looking at UH. We're getting all the way to, we're trying to get it all the way to downtown. So we're trying to truly have an urban, we call it our hub system, our Honolulu urban bus system, and we're truly trying to break new ground. With traffic engineering, with priorities, and if we pull this off, we'll have not a national showcase. We'll have a global showcase for how you can really tie these different modes together in a seamless way with fares and connectivity of people.
Seamless is the operative word. Yeah.
And Roger mentioned transit-oriented development. One of the most efficient ways of transportation, or efficient method of transportation, is simply walking from point A to point B. And by providing more options for people to get the things that they need on a daily basis, close to where they live or close to where they work, and they're able to do that trip just by walking or perhaps riding a bicycle, that is going to be the most efficient and cleanest way to go. And that complements other forms of good transportation like public transit. So someone doesn't feel like they need their car in the middle of the day, is more likely to use transit to get to work. If the things around their office are close by and able, they can get lunch or run their errands, then they'll feel comfortable leaving their car at home. And ultimately, that's better for everybody.
We've got to get them to do that. You know, I'm reminded by this conversation of the various little towns along the major arterial routes, you know, going east and west from the downtown area, going out to Hawaii, you know, 3 or 4 little, you know, commercial centers, and more of that going west. And that's kind of faded in the past, you know, and instead we've migrated to these huge, big shopping centers, which creates the need to take a car over time, and it creates traffic jams over time. But if with TOD around each station becomes a commercial center, and so you don't have to travel that far to get what you need, and you actually return to old times in terms of the, you know, the location of the commercial centers. It becomes easier to live and walk and take your bike and whatever other means are possible. So this is going to reshape not only the city, but the way we engage in the city.
Yes.
A lot of our development as an urban area, our streetcar suburbs, that's a legacy of our old streetcar system that we had starting in 1901 in Honolulu. And so a lot of our development patterns are built around that kind of
You look at the traditional neighborhoods of Wailea Avenue or Kapahulu, those are exactly built around the streetcar. People would get off the train, do their errands, and then walk home close by from there.
We want to go back. We want to go back to that. You know?
Well, there's a lot of value associated with that.
I mean, it's the sociology as well as the economics, as well as the, you know, renewable aspect of it. It's where we got to go. But my question to you is, first question, I have a lot of questions. First question is, when?
Okay, it's when. Well, this is a good time just to transition into, there is a grant program with the Department of Transportation, a federal grant, and it's really a mobility. It's a program of $500 million a year annually for urbanized areas and rural areas. And we hope to get money for that in this round. That will mean that we're going to apply for the grant in April. Announcements will be made in November. We've got some good supporters this time around, some of our congressional delegation, our State Department of Transportation, and so we're hopeful that this time we'll get funded. And that's a key part of any project is how we fund it.
Sure. Federal funding?
Federal funding. If we can get 80% federal funding for this, it makes it a lot easier for everybody. Now, if we get that, then we're probably looking at really moving forward in the 2017-18 timeframe, and maybe implementing a project in the 2019 timeframe in maybe 2 phases. The first phase is we'll just implement a program that replaces some of the things we're doing now. A couple of years later, when rail gets into Ala Moana Center, we're probably going to have to ramp up what we're doing at that point. So we're looking at 2019 as our first foray into this. There's a lot for us to learn. This is new technology for us. It's new technology for the nation. So there's a lot for us to learn, and we hope that we can do it in that time frame of maybe 2018, 2019, and then ramp it up even more when rail comes, because we're going to have a logistical issue with rail. If the planners are right, by 2030, we'll be looking at 45,000 people getting on and off trains at Ala Moana Station. And while not all of them are some of them are gonna stay or walk from that station, a lot of them are gonna go to UH or to up Keomoko and mostly to Waikiki.
We want them to.
We want them to
jam it up. But because we know that if they can't get on the train, they won't get on the
That's
train.
right.
And they'll go back to their old ways.
We want to make sure
we won't have the success we want.
But when you look at the numbers of people, it gets to be challenging just from a public transportation logistics point of view. How can we, if a train shows up in the station and it's got 300 people on it, and 160 of them want to get to Waikiki immediately, how can we make that as seamless and as easy as possible?
Hold that question. We're going to take a short break. We come back, you can give a rhetorical answer at least.
Okay.
Okay? That's Roger Morton, President of TheBus, and Mark Garrity, Deputy Director of Department of Transportation Services for the city. So exciting to have him here. We'll be right back.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, offering lifelong learning from passionate hosts and fascinating guests ready to explore and explain Hawaii's place in the 21st century. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen. I'm the host of Likeable Science on Think Tech Hawaii. We talk about why people should like science, why science is actually fun, how science is a dynamic and vital part of everyone's life. Why everyone, every man, woman, and child on the planet should really know science, should love science, should be familiar with science. So it's a great show. People come on here and have interesting conversations with us. They tell us why they do what they do, why they love it, why we should love it too. I hope you'll join us every Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And of course, you can see it anytime on YouTube. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live with Mark Garrity, Deputy Director of DOTS, the Honolulu City and County, and Roger Morton, President of TheBus, which is a separate entity. Very important to understand that, yeah. But they work together a lot. I know they do. So you left us with a cliffhanger question. What's the rhetorical answer?
Well, how do we move thousands of people a day to that? And we're doing a lot of things really. We're hoping to develop a good terminal location at Ala Moana that will be right in the same proximity. You come down the escalator, your buses are right there. As Mark said earlier, we're hoping to make these buses all door. That means we're using smart cards and people can pay at any door that they come in. We are working with our traffic engineers and to facilitate that we can take some routes to Waikiki that we don't take right now. One of the routes that we don't take from Ala Moana is we do not go into Waikiki through Kawakawa Avenue. We go in through Ala Moana Boulevard.
That is a big blessing.
And if we can get in through Kawakawa for the majority of riders that are going there, it's going to cut about 7 or 8 or 9 minutes off.
Kawakawa is better then.
It is better because it's
more direct.
It's more direct. And there's demand in both. We're not going to sacrifice one. All we're going to do is we're going to actually have 2 routes instead of 1 from Ala Moana, one that goes through the Kawakawa gateway and one that continues to go through the Ala Moana gateway. And there's different crowds. That Holborn area is very, very dense. It's probably the densest area in our state right now. But a lot of our people go beyond Port DeRusi, and for them, the Kawakawa route is going to be a lot faster. So
these routes are going to go down all the way to Kapahulu?
Yeah, they'll go to Kapahulu. In fact, we have a route system that there'll be a lot of buses in Waikiki, but we're also going to have some of those buses will go up Kapahulu and ultimately get to the University of Hawaii, come back through Makiki. So we're looking at not just at connecting rail, but we're looking at trying to find better routes for UH students, better routes for people in Makiki that work in Waikiki. We're looking at trying to provide transit access to some lower income areas along, that UH wants to get a better connection with. So we're really trying to design this to meet a myriad number of different objectives.
You want to attract riders.
We want to attract riders.
You want everybody riding the bus.
And we absolutely do. We want to be so convenient and so much more, so much easier than trying to navigate into Waikiki, finding a parking spot for an automobile, storing it all day long while you work. It makes much more sense from once we have rail particularly, but also for our other close-in neighborhoods that are very dense, to just try to find a better transit solution. Our transit solution for Makiki now goes to the university, and then it kind of goes on a circuitous route to get to Waikiki, and we think we can do better for people there.
Why only now? Why wasn't this 10 years ago?
Well, the technology is changing, right? We mentioned earlier about batteries becoming more efficient, the ability to use advanced technology not only to direct the bus, but to power the bus. But there's things we're doing like dynamic scheduling that we couldn't do a few years ago, and that will keep the buses on schedule.
We're doing that here too, by the way.
Sure. Well, there's lots of ways that we can make the bus experience, the experience of riding transit, more efficient, more pleasant. I don't know whether you use the bus app. You have an app you can download on your phone, tells you when the next bus is coming to your bus stop. You can be standing at a bus stop and tells you when the next 5 or 6 buses are coming, how many minutes away they are.
Signs up.
Yeah. Well, we can do both. There's lots of things that we can be doing, but technology is allowing us to serve people in a way that we couldn't before. And all of these things, these options of being able to walk more easily, to bicycle more easily, to use transit more easily and more convenient, enables people to make that choice. And that's what we're talking about. As more people make that choice, we have to have the buses to serve it.
Yeah.
And the whole infrastructure for putting in battery-operated buses is not simple. And that's why we want to partner with Hawaiian Electric. And we are going to partner with them to put in charging stations near where the buses will need them, things like that. So we've already had a lot of meetings, and part of this grant opportunity that Roger was talking about, we could, if we get this money, we could put charging stations in, put other infrastructure in to make this thing possible.
What about nodes, internet nodes? If you got them in the buses now, they're going to be in the buses? Because, you know, people are on their phones all day and all night.
Yeah, I mean, on this bus for sure, we're going to put USB ports for charging your phone.
Oh, very cool.
That's something
very cool. What a great idea.
that we'll do. As part of our smart card project, and a lot of this stuff, Jay, was not possible 10 years ago. Why? Because we didn't have the communication systems that we have now. We're switching our internal communication systems on the buses to cellular based. It's just a finer grain, but it's
so you're in touch with the driver all the time.
So we can be in touch with the driver. We can do the dynamic scheduling that Mark was talking about, and some of those things were just, all of this technology is coming together and converging. But communication is a big part of it. Our smart card system will be a back-end system. That means when you go to get on a bus or go to a rail station, there's actually going to be communication back to a back-end server to look at your account. It's going to be an account-based system as opposed to storing something on a card. And that wasn't possible 10 years ago.
And it's the old story. You'll know where everybody is.
Well, we're going to
not by name, but you'll know the traffic that's moving on the bus.
The data that we're going to get from this is going to be very, very helpful because we'll have a much better sense of where people want to go and what kind of trips they're making, and so we can then adjust our service to provide a more economical and better service to the customers. Absolutely.
But we will allow our customers to continue to be anonymous.
Of course. We wouldn't expect anything other than that.
We're going to offer them the choice, really. I mean, there's an advantage to registering your gift card. If you lose it, it can be replaced. But we're going to offer customers a choice.
So the card that you're talking about will be useful on the buses and on HART?
Of course, yeah, on the train, the bus, and maybe some other things too, like parking, bike share.
Handy van.
Handy van. There'll be many possible uses for this in the future. We're working with our information technology department to think about ways that this could actually be the card for Honolulu, where almost all residents might have it, even if they don't use the bus on a regular basis. Maybe they use other city services for which this account could be active.
Yeah, what a great idea. God, we could push that one through. Yeah. So what are the challenges? I mean, I didn't hear the number of federal dollars you want.
In rough numbers, this circulation system is about a $30 million project in rough numbers, and we're hoping about 80%, $25 million or so would be funded by federal dollars. Out of that $30 million, there's probably $20 million is vehicles, and $10 million is improved roadways and things like that, and improved transportation systems off the vehicle. So we can make this all happen. It's not just the vehicles, but it's got to be a complete system in order for it to work.
We have a graphic that you brought with you. Let's show it, and you can describe what it is. What is that, Roger?
Well, that's our application title page, actually. But the interesting thing is that the density map in the middle of that is put in there to sort of demonstrate that 42% of all of our jobs on this island are within half a mile of the route that we're planning on this bus. 42%, that's a huge number.
It is.
And that's one of the selling points of our application is that this is very high density. People don't really think about it for transit, but this is a transit town in Honolulu. Even though we just have a bus system now, we have the 5th highest per capita ridership in the country.
We have a good bus system.
We do.
Everybody likes the bus.
But the guys that beat us in per capita, New York City, of course, Boston, San Francisco, Washington. After that comes Honolulu. And all of those other systems have a long history and long mature infrastructure of
Including rail.
of rail transit
Right.
and buses.
Yeah.
So this is, I think it's the federal officials tell us it's remarkable the level of ridership that we have on Oahu without a rail system,
Right.
and that's one of the reasons why they were so highly rated to get a rail system, was because you don't really even need. We hope to generate a lot more ridership, but you know, just what we have in the corridors that are using the bus right now, it's 80,000 or so a day that are in those corridors.
Well, see, in my view, you know, the rail alone by itself wouldn't solve the problem. The people used to raise this all the time. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she's going to take violin lessons up Sierra Drive somewhere, and I drive her. Now, the system has got to be able to take her instead, otherwise I'm going to drive her, and she doesn't drive. So it's the last mile thing you were talking
Right,
about.
it's the last mile.
And for transportation to work in Oahu, you've got to have that everywhere.
We're working on, actually, we have a working group dedicated just to that, is to looking at how we can make our bus system more efficient once the rail line is open. If you think about it, the rail line is going to have, it's 20 miles long, 21 stations of very high capacity trains running every few minutes. And that is going to replace some of our peak buses that are running along that corridor. But what it's going to do is provide a sort of a spine off of which we can run a lot more buses up into those neighborhoods. And we can provide better service by simply connecting to rail stations and serving the communities, the Mauka communities and the Valley communities, much better than we're serving today by reorganizing our bus system a little bit to take advantage of that efficiency created by the rail.
I'm getting excited with you. Now we
You
got three
should.
people to
You
table.
should.
And if Jim Albus were here, he'd be excited. How does Mike Formby feel about all this?
He's right on board. We're
Yeah.
one and the same. in
It's a
terms of
great
how we talk about
achievement,
this.
really.
Mike is a fantastic director. I'm very happy to have him.
Yeah, he's an old friend of mine. Anyway, so, okay. Do you anticipate, are you experiencing any resistance to any of this? Because it seems so perfectly good.
Honestly, I can't think of any resistance, and we've tried to be inclusive. We've tried to go out to the major stakeholders that are going to be impacted in this particular corridor. Ultimately, we will go out to neighborhoods all over the island, and we'll talk more about this.
You know, and I understand that the rail project even now is quite controversial and people are concerned about cost overruns, but everybody wants to make it the most efficient system we can. We're committed to it. Everybody wants to make it work. And connecting the bus with the rail, with other transit options, transportation options, ensuring that the area around the stations are walkable, bicyclable, all of that is necessary to make it work. So everybody supports that.
Yeah, I think they do. And I think when they realize that it's not just the backbone of the rail, that is what it is. It's all the connection.
Right.
They're going to say, gee, I want to try
very
that
important
out.
to get that
It'll
right.
help me get where I want to go. And if it's not exact, it's okay, because I'll walk the rest.
And there are, you know, there's other options too. There's going to be plenty of taxi options. There's all the TNTs if we continue to have them that are there. So there's many options around the country that have been converging to in other areas that are making that last mile easier to deal with.
Yeah, and you guys from around the country, watch us go. Watch the city and county and the bus go, because, you know, you'll learn from what we do. We're going to be a leader on this. Okay, we have about a minute left. Roger, you go first. Talk to that camera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the public. What do you want to tell them? What do you want to leave with them as a result of this show?
Well, I hope that they will, when they hear about this project, they'll support the project. I know that they always have supported our bus system. I'm very appreciative that I live in a community where people do treasure the bus. We're lucky to have local officials that have consistently, since the 70s, have made a major commitment to support public transportation. And I'm really proud to be part of Honolulu's public transportation system.
Okay, Mark?
We're happy to have Roger and all the great employees of OTS driving the buses for us every day. I think what we've heard today is that Oahu and Hawaii is committed to clean transportation, to making the most efficient transportation system we possibly can. We're very excited about the future. We think the future is bright for the city and county of Honolulu and the citizens of Hawaii. So we're happy to be here.
A new world. We're right
Yeah.
on the cusp.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's Mark Garrity, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation Services of the City and County, and Roger Morton, President of TheBus. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you very
Thank you
much for
much,
having
Jay.
us.
Aloha. Here's the deal. I'm Jay Fidel. I'm the host of Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, which is the Energy Policy Forum's program on Wednesday. That's how we call Wednesday Energy Wednesday. We call it Energy Wednesday every Wednesday. Are you surprised? Okay, and we try to get guys like Jim Alberts here from Hawaiian Electric who can tell us what's really going on in energy. We want to be informed. It's so important. It's the most important initiative in our state. Clean energy is major, okay? And that's how